encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hey, come on in again. Get that cup of joe. Get that little Coke, Diet, Pepsi, Sprite, whatever you're taking. Sit down. Get some nutrients, water, get something going, and let's sit back and enjoy and find out, get inspired, get motivated. Because, again, the Professor of Perseverance podcast, I am the Professor of Perseverance, Dr. James Perdue himself. So, again, we interview people who have gone through somewhat of a struggle, big struggle, maybe a small struggle, but still a big struggle to them, but who have come out on the other end and not only survived, but thrived and has kicked this adversity in its teeth. Today, our guest, Steph Hermanson. Stephanie? I don't know if Stephanie. I know Steph Hermanson, and she'll let me know if Stephanie's right or not, and quick, I'm sure. And so, but she has gone through some marital issues where Mr. Husband decided to rummage around and found another woman. And not only that, Steph had found out that her and the other mistress were pregnant about the same time. So, Steph, not to steal your thunder and your story all the way, but welcome to the show. And here's a topic that I'm sure there's going to be some other women, other men that can relate to. And I've never been married, so I'm enlightened to hear these stories and things like this and how you come out on the other side. All right, Steph, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me here so I can talk about overcoming my moments and my perseverance through that.
I need to give me a bell. I need to give me a bell. When someone says perseverance, I need to be going ding, 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 ding.
Yes, exactly.
And I've said that before. I just been lazy and got a bell. So.
All right, somebody send you a bell. Whoever's listening, send him a bell.
There, that's right.
Right?
Even if it's an electronical bell to put on my other stuff to push buttons and do it
exactly.
there. Don't have to be a physical bell. All right, so
there we go.
Yeah. All right, Steph. So again, glad you're here, man. You seem to have I had a podcast yesterday. This woman, she lost her eye in a tragic accident, right eye, and she considered herself the Canadian pirate. And so, and wears her patch, but she's got a prosthetic eye as well. But I mean, her positivity was just so contagious, and I could tell already. Man, I got another contagious positivity. Man, I'm just, it fires me up with people like y'all that's been through something and has come out on stronger on the other end.
Absolutely, I'm a big proponent of not letting those moments define you. Right? They are what make up who you are. But we're going to have, it's not just one big pivotal moment in your life. There's going to be a lot of them along the way, right? This particular one, right, happened to me, 6 years ago, where kind of stuck in my marriage and was blissfully unaware that there was an issue, honestly. And then, affair and multiple babies, right, between hers and mine. And in our state, I live out in Missouri, you can't get divorced if you're pregnant, which added a whole layer of complexity that you cannot legally divorce when you're pregnant. So that meant we had to stay together. And I was only 2-3 weeks along when I found out. So we had the full pregnancy to live through together.
I didn't know that, because in Tennessee, it seems like they're divorcing just because you weren't wearing the right pair of pants. I don't know.
Well,
again, I've never been married and never been divorced. And I used to kid. I quit doing it now, but I used to kid because I hear some of my friends complain about marriage. They got a divorce, and then I would jokingly, I quit doing it because it seemed like they got irritated. But I would joke, "Why can't you get married? So I get a divorce." And so. But wow, I mean, a law, I never heard that law before.
Yeah.
You can't legally get a divorce while being pregnant.
Yeah, there's a couple states just like that. Not too many,
Wow,
it seems like, but there are a couple. Missouri is one of them. So we persevered through, right? Ding, ding,
Ding,
ding.
ding, 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 ding. All right. So,
Through that separation, and then 2 babies being born. So, which all in that moment, right? You also have pregnancy hormones, not to mention kind of marriage is falling apart and trying to understand what's going on. I already had a 1-year-old daughter as well, so this was going to be baby number 2, and it was just wow. We have to make this work. We're going to have to power through this because we already have children. We are having another child, and there's a third one, right? Who is going to, like, while, not mine, is still going to be a half sibling to my 2 children. So we're all in this together. Like, when that happens, if you divorce without children, there is, like, you can actually separate and then not be involved in each other's lives again. And I am a child of divorce myself, with remarried parents who had step kids. So I've had a large blended family, and I know what that's like. So I was like, the easiest way to go through this is we have to focus on these children are siblings, right? And how do we protect those 3 children, are my 2, as well as their sister? So how do we make sure we persevere through that? It was
now let me go ahead and say
hard.
that I am a product of a divorced
Okay.
family growing up, so I did experience that. But here's what's strange or weird, or I don't know how normal it may be, but my dad, I call him a sperm donor because he never once sent a Christmas card, birthday card, what's going on, go to hell, no interaction, no nothing. And when I was 12 years old, he passed away from cancer at 35. And
oh my
so
gosh.
it even before 12, I knew he was out there, but
Mm-hmm.
I had no interaction.
Right.
So I'm kind of glad of that. That way, mom and dad didn't have those arguments in front of us. So I'm kind of glad. But he did remarry and had another son, and we've never met him.
Wow.
And here I am, as old as I am, we still never met him. And so, yeah. So I don't know if it's good or bad that we've never been with the family or not. So
Right.
your husband, he obviously interacts or still in the family,
Yeah.
or at least playing dad role.
No, he's a wonderful father. Like, and while it didn't work out for, our marriage and, all the different things that led up to the way that it went down, right? Regardless, right? We now fast forward 6 years later, like the 4 of us, because I actually got remarried just, earlier this year. And now the 4 of us, me and my husband, my ex-husband, and his wife, who remarried the woman that he had left with, the 4 of us co-parent together. Like, we have group text chat where we talk almost probably daily, with updates, about kiddos. We split time between, these kiddos are in preschool, this one's in first grade. So, okay, they're at 2 different schools. So, all right, you take these 2 to one school, I'll take her to, the elementary school. We divide and conquer. We attend things together as much as possible, because going back to, like, right when it's happening, all I can think about is these kids are going to be siblings, right? I have blended siblings and I know what that's like. So, though I don't have any full blood siblings myself. So, my stepsister is who I was closest with growing up, even though I had a half sister and 2 half brothers. The person I shared no blood with was my closest, like, companion growing up. So I know how important sibling bonds can be. And I wanted that for my kids. So whatever we can do to make sure that they have what they need, I can put everything else aside. There are still moments where you get irritated by a decision, right, that's made, or you just have to, like, pick in my battles. That is not one, right? It's not my marriage, not my, problem, doesn't affect the children, right? Go for it. Do what you need to do. We're going to focus on anything collaboratively about the kids, and the rest of it, we have our own homes, our own lives. But when it comes to the kids, we try to collaborate as much as possible to make it seamless. So,
and I would think that would be the best, is putting the kids first,
right,
to make sure they're happy, growing up independently, no regrets,
right.
Hopefully that they're understanding. Yeah, I would think that would be the best thing, because you hear too many stories of the war still going on and the kids feel like they're the cause of it.
Right. Yeah. You never want to put them that they were the cause of anything. There's, the adage of, you put your kids first. Like that's not uncommon, advice for divorced people, but it is really hard to do. Right. When you've been emotionally bonded, married, my ex-husband and I were together for the better part of almost a decade. So, we'd spent time integrating our families and the whole bit. Like that's a hard thing to separate yourself from and find a clean path forward. Especially I was in my young 20s, married through most of my 20s. That was just, those are your kind of formidable years. You're kind of deciding who you are as a person and who you're going to be. So you have to just really pivot what's going to happen from here on out while keeping a relationship with this person, knowing that they will be there for every big moment of your children's lives, right? And every moment of your life, they're probably going to discuss with your children, or their children's going to talk to them about it. Because I get those, daddy bought a dog, right? Or like daddy's building me a playhouse. And like, that's fantastic. That sounds great. What are you going to name your dog, right? It doesn't affect my house, but affects my child. So I'm going to listen earnestly and encourage it and you get to go to daddy's house today. Isn't that going to be fantastic? Right. And, spending time with your stepmom, who they love and who I am so grateful for, even through all that moment that she was this other woman in the scenario of like, you can easily typecast someone as the villain, right? Like it's your fault, right? Yes. It's so easy to fall in that trap. But I know that she loves my children because she sees them as her own. She's been a part of their lives for 6 years. They're only 6, almost, they're only 5, right? My son was born right after she came into the picture. And then my daughter's 7. She's been a part of their lives almost as long as I have. So this is how our family is structured. It's messy and it works.
All right, let's go to the hard question here now.
All right,
I'm ready. I know it had to been, even though I've never been married and all that going on, but it had to been a hard, bitter pill to swallow at the beginning. And I can tell with your mannerism, again, you're positive and stuff like that. You can't tell me that this was all sun rays and tulips popping up. And at the beginning, I'm sure dishes broken and maybe not throwing. I'm not saying violence here, but, how did you come to, did all of you sit down to talk and say, hey, we need to make the best out of this? Obviously, you talking both of them, your ex-husband and his wife, you're talking about they're great with your kids and stuff like that. So, so how did y'all come about? Let's make the best out of this, and we're going to be a great big old happy family the best we can.
Right. It happened as a progression over time, right? It didn't happen overnight, right? It didn't happen immediately. But even in that first year of separation, her and I both being pregnant, right? Those first couple months were really hard. He disconnected from our family and focused on, his now wife, right? So I spent that, year going to doctor's appointments alone. Right. I lived on I slept on a futon in the basement of his brother's home. Right. With his brother and his wife and their kids, because I couldn't afford our home anymore. Like I got cut off financially. I was just starting a business and I didn't have enough to support my daughter and myself being pregnant. Right. So like we went through the scenario of where are we going to live? We have to move out. He left. Right. Came over, got his stuff. And like it just happened really quickly. So there was a lot of crying, a lot of being upset. Though I also grew up in a very structured home, military, a lot of strength, a lot of pride, right? A lot of put your best foot forward, make good decisions. That I kept those moments as much as I could, right, to myself. It was once the door closed and I put my daughter to bed, right, I'd go into my bedroom and just sob. And how did I get here? How did, what did I do wrong? And you question who you are, the decisions you've made, and you go back and nitpick every moment you've ever had. And how did I miss it? And how are we going to move forward from here? So I relied heavily on, family and friends that were around, but when you're together for, almost 10 years, some of your friends are the same friends. Your family is the same family. So finding when is it time to separate, but I need you now more than ever, right? Not trying to have people pick sides, it was a constant battle. And even now, we like, now that I'm remarried, my last name has changed, but their stepmom has the same name as I do. She's also Stephanie. So then when she married my ex-husband, we had the same last name and the same first name. So the hard part was getting a call from the school, right? They're asking me about their daughter, not my daughter, their daughter, right? Or they'll call her and ask about my son, right? Because they're just looking at the list like, oh, Stephanie, and my last name then was Nissen. So Stephanie Nissen, right? Oh, that must be you. Like, no, you want the other one. Like, so it's just added this layer of complexity that's just like a jab every time it happens, that like, not the fault of the person calling, not this, just the way it all fell out. We just happen to have the same name. So just added a really hard level of deep breath, power through, nobody's fault, it's the way it is. And I'll go cry about it in a minute.
I can understand trying to hide, putting the best face forward for your child. You know, the little girl not knowing what's going on. I ain't gonna say it. And I can understand crying yourself to sleep. So I can understand that, and going from there. All right, then you mentioned about y'all shared a lot of friends at that point. Now you had to find somebody that you can blow up to and know they're not going to go back to ex-husband and say, you won't believe what Steph said today. And so you've had to learn to trust, or maybe you did get blown up in your face one time with somebody. Is, anything, finding someone that you can, because we've all got to vent to somebody.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I found I did mine in kind of bits and pieces where I wouldn't give anybody like the whole story, or like all the emotions running around in my brain and all the words that I wanted to say out loud. It would be in that moment, like depending on who I was talking to. So like my mom might get a piece, or my stepmom might get a piece, or like my best friend would get a piece, or the counselor I was talking to from our church would get some of it. And you just like, because everybody's so connected, you're just like, how much should I give you, right? And I don't want to seem like a total mess, and I'm also finding myself just second guessing, like, am I taking this out of proportion, right? Even though I'm putting on my best face, like we're powering through, we're making good decisions, and people are like, you're just handling it so well, and inside I'm like, I don't think I'm handling it well.
Oh yeah, you've been eat up with everything, because like I said, you're second guess. What did I do to push him to the other woman?
Of course.
So you're doing all that second guessing as well. And so now, how long would you say that finally everybody decided, let's sit down, talk about this, and let's get everything out there, and let's make the best that we can for everybody, especially the children. But how long do you think that took?
A year to 18 months. After the initial kind of shock and separation, going through being, not being able to get divorced and being pregnant, and, all the unknowns of, what was going to happen even in either one of our pregnancies, like would everybody have a healthy baby, right? Like what was going to happen? Once the divorce was final, a year later after the initial separation.
I was actually going to ask you, you said you can't get a divorce while pregnant. Did everybody serve divorce papers the day after the babies were born?
The divorce papers and everything was done like while we were separated, but it was the date of when you could go to the judge and actually get everything done that had to be done afterwards. So my son was born in February, and then we were officially divorced by June. So we kind of powered through the next couple months, got things sorted out and settled. And then once that piece was done and it felt like everybody could move forward from here, because even though you've gone through so many emotions, like you feel tethered. I'm stuck here. I can't move forward with my life. I'm still separated from my husband, right? And still in the process of getting divorced, where like once that was finally done, there was a huge amount of relief. that finally I have a piece of paper that says this is done and here's our parenting plan and here's how things are going to go. Right. And we stuck solidly to what that parenting plan said and just let it be the guiding force of it. And then from there, just made sure that we talked constantly and made decisions together and found the right rhythm of what was important to both of us as parents, of having a say, as well as honoring that, okay, now there's a stepmom, right, in the picture, who also gets a say in, the decisions that we make. And then earlier this year, I got married. So then it was, now there's stepdad, and he gets added into this group chat and of like, okay, you weren't here at the beginning, right? Now we have a new element of trying to figure out
we have a new piece to the puzzle, right. or we're changing the game again a little bit more. It's still being played the same, but we're adding a new piece to the game.
Player.
Yeah, new player.
Yeah. So, but it's gone in stages, and I think it's progressively just gotten better. I think, when my husband proposed to me last fall, we went over and let, my ex and his wife know, like, hey, Paul has proposed, right? We're gonna get married. This obviously affects them and shifts the dynamic a little bit, right? It's not just boyfriend, right? This is gonna, be a permanent part of fixture in our family, right? And their stepmom, Steph, she was so excited for us. Like, I think she hugged me, and I think that was the first time that she had hugged me in, the 6 years we'd been doing this. That like we were always friendly and cordial, right? Co-parents, right, was the identity, but then it kind of moved to like, she hugged me in that moment, and I was like, oh my God, like it was very sweet. It like brought me to tears because like we've gone through a lot together to get to this point where she could just feel joy for me in that moment, as well as like joy for our family. So it was a very, very touching moment to kind of get to 6 years later of this is the person that in those first moments I stroked you were the villain, right? And now her and I are the ones who make most of, the discussion, decisions, and moving kids around between places they have to go. Like, I co-parent more with her than anyone else, right? Between, the two dads now, but and I talk constantly.
I can believe that the women folk still controlling the family life. I can see that where dad's wanting to be in the man cave and he accepts what goes on. I can believe that. So again, I'm not a father or anything, so I have no dog in the fight on this one. But I can see that, and I'll come to the conclusion again. My mom had divorced my dad a year before I was a year old, and so again, I never met him up to that point and everything like that. I grew up with the thinking that all families just had the mom at home because there was no man. She didn't date anything in and out, but she did start dating when I was 6, and she remarried when I was 6. With him, that's the guy that I considered my father. I don't say stepfather. He loved me when I needed it, and he busted my butt when I needed it. And so, yeah, he's the father I had. And unfortunately, he died when I was 16.
Oh,
and
no.
But I can tell with your positivity and everything like that, is the other mother, she just as positive as you? Does everybody seem to be? I mean, obviously you're on the same page with everything, but I mean, is everybody just as positive as you are? Is there's one of them that goes, I'm not too sure about this. They're a little negative on something, or
no? Actually, I think all of us have, really embraced this philosophy of kids first. So even when we have moments where we disagree on, the right way to handle, an issue, or, hey, we want to change the dynamic a little bit or change the schedule a little bit, right? We can sit down and have those conversations and talk to each other, with compassion, and then make a decision. So everybody's been pretty good about that, there's always moments where either somebody has a bad day, right? Or somebody is really dig your heels in about something. But even when that happens, right, we don't ever lose that respect for each other. You can be direct with someone, but be respectful.
Yes.
So that, has been important for us. And, knowing that we shouldn't have to walk on eggshells around each other and be so concerned about, well, I got to say this as nicely as possible. You have to say it with tact, right? And compassion, but you can say what you need to say, right? And so we can move forward, because if you don't, right, and you dance around it and you're just waiting for them to pick up on these subtle clues, right, that doesn't work for anyone ever. So just say what you need to say. Let's figure out a plan forward and go from there. So, Stephanie and I, stepmom and I, do most of that discussion back and forth. But really everything happens in our group chat. Like, we text everything to each other. So just everything's documented and we see each other almost every day.
and that's awesome that the group chat's going on. That way everybody knows exactly what's going on. That way you're not talking to the other woman, and then she's trying to portray it to the ex-husband, and she may have forgotten a few things and what's going on. But keeping the toe text going together, then we're all on the same page.
Exactly. Everybody's on the same page all the time. Everybody has the same information, right? And then I'm, in our house, and I'm sure theirs is, probably very similar. Like, we do a download, right, at the end of the day, depending on who picked up the kids and who saw, the other family. Like, if I pick them up, then, Stephanie and I will chat for a few minutes about, like, here's what's going on tomorrow. It's field day at school. And okay, I've got cookies for the party that they're going to have on Friday, and I'll give them to you and you can take them with her to school the next day, right? Whatever it is. And I'll get back to the house. We'll get the kids going on dinner or whatever. And then talk to Paul, my husband, and like, okay, here's the rundown. Like, here's the quick chat thing that we talked about. But usually somebody texts in the group and confirms that all that information is correct. So we're all on the same page, just coordinating between so many schedules between the kids at two different schools. And then, my company with Atomic Revenue, and then Stephanie, their other mom, has like a bakery business, and she sells like workout clothes. Then Paul's a photographer and graphic designer and, does all these things. And then Brandon, my ex-husband, he's a pilot and pilot instructor and does we all have lots of different roles and jobs, different schedules. So it takes us being in constant communication to make sure that every piece is taken care of. And it might touch all four of us in a day to make it happen between I think it's awesome
that all of you are going different avenues, and then it opens the eyes up to all the kids. What do I want to do? And they see all these different
conversations.
Yes, you get to see all these different opportunities. And then if I'm still not into that, what else can I go do? Well, that's amazing. I'm glad you shared that with the different avenues and opportunities. But that's incredible. I really love that. So
it's fantastic. I loved that conversation with my daughter recently where she's like, I think I want to be a teacher when I grow up. No, I want to be an astronaut. No, I'm going to be an army doctor. And she's just kind of going through these things. Right? She's 7. But then she's like, oh, it's so hard to pick one thing. And I was like, you don't have to pick one thing.
It's right.
You
exactly.
can do multiple things. It's like, mommy has been, a bank teller. I have, oh my gosh, I worked in a real estate marketing firm, and now I own a consulting agency. And I used to work with, used to be a direct support professional for adults with disabilities. And like, I've done all kinds. She's
hey,
like,
that's me, an adult with a disability. That's me, an adult with a disability. All right.
Yeah. But I used to be a DSP in a home for boys out in Illinois, who were like teenage to, all the way up into their 50s, and taking care of them in a house,
That's me.
all
I'll
roommates.
Be 57 next month.
Hey, I love it.
Next month. All right. Now, here's I think it's kind of a funny question here. All right.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if you've ever done this when you were growing up. Dad, can I go? No. Mom, can I go? Yes. All right. Thank you, Mom. Now, your children, how many have come up to you and you go, no? And then they tried Daddy, your ex-husband, and then he says, what'd your mama say? And when she said no, all right, no, then goes over to the other woman, and she says, yeah.
Oh,
because they have more opportunities to go get that yes than we just had. We only had 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
They got 4 to
see
go
that now.
until they finally get that. So
Yeah, we're just starting to see that where, my daughter has done this a couple times and my son as well, of just like a few times here and there of just, hey, mom, can I watch my tablet? Well, when your room is clean, right? Then we can have some tablet time, right? And then, going out to their stepdad, Paul, Paul, can I do some tablet time? I think a few minutes you're probably okay. And then I'll walk in and be like, what is going? I already told you no, right? So then it's like, going back and forth over that. And then they walk into their dad's house and immediately pick up their tablets, right? Because rules might be different over there, right?
exactly.
But like we, their stepmom and I will talk and go like, okay, they have lost tablets for the rest of the day because they lied, about this. And like, okay, done. And then tablets are gone. So if that I really appreciate. So we can go back and forth and be like, look, there was, consequences for an action, right? They are not allowed to have tablets, for the rest of the day. Oh, okay, done. You can't have it in our house either, right? That consequence didn't go away when you moved from mom's house to dad's house. So, which I appreciate. So, but it definitely has happened where they do it within our homes and back and forth.
I'm waiting. I want to talk to you in a couple of years when they're old enough they go, Mom, this is not fair. I understand I can't do it at your house, but I ought to be able to do it at Dad's house. And so I want to talk to you in a couple of years when they figure that out. So
we'll see. We had a parenting powwow a couple weekends ago where we just got together and talked for a couple of hours and went through like the list of like, okay, potty, training and tying shoes and like all the things that we need to go through. And okay, bedtime's this. All right, summertime is coming. Are we going to adjust bedtimes? We tried to keep those things in the routine elements that would be the same at both houses, because regardless of where you are, there's a lot of change constantly for the kids because all of us are so hands-on. When I was growing up, I lived with my dad and I spent summers with my mom and every other Christmas with her. So my dad dictated the schedule, but when I went for the summer, like the schedule was all over the place, right? Because it's summertime, right? That's what it's supposed to be. But with ours, we go back and forth, every week we switch, but we see each other almost every day between school drop-offs and who's got an activity. So keeping those routines as close to each other as possible is been a godsend for us. Everybody has the same bedtime, both houses, same bedtime routine, right? Brush your teeth, put on your pajamas. We're going to read a book. Like we're going to go to bed. Like, and it's the same in both sides, which yes. So,
I can envision, and you mentioned to me earlier, and we'll bring it up now that you are in process of writing a book. And
yes,
I could see that y'all start doing some type of counseling retreat on how blended families should work with each other to help each other instead of fighting against each other and making it harder on the kids. I can see y'all coming together and doing a retreat and having people pay y'all to get to see how y'all do this. And again, I've never been married. I don't have an ex and no children. So it may just be me just spitting in the wind and hoping for something. But I could see this being a positive, again, retreat or some sort.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see us doing certain things like that over time, but it's actually funny because people have asked us to share a story, like where I got to share it with, part of it with you today. And, their stepmom, Stephanie, is in, a Moms of Preschool Age Children group where they have like conferences and summits and panels. And they've asked her to talk about, from stepmom's perspective, like what it's like to co-parent and share with other moms and blended families. So people kind of hear our story, they ask us to share a little bit more and like, how are you doing that? And I'm like, with constant focus on what you have to do. Like it is not something you can get complacent over. Like you have to make a conscious choice every day. I'm like, all right, we're going to get through this one. Here we go.
Now when people ask you, how do y'all do that? You'll say for $3.97, I'll tell you that you get 2 hours and for $3.97, and we'll tell you how to do that. And then to get a group of 10 people to be in the session together, so you work it just that 2 hours with them. And
there we go. See, you got it all figured out. A whole nother revenue stream. I
can see this happening because as well as I do, there's way too many families I don't say
Yeah.
dysfunction or whatnot, but they're not seeing eye to eye, and they
Yeah.
don't want to see eye to eye. They want the best for the kids, but they don't know how to
Right.
do to be the best they can for the kids. I don't want to be friendly with the ex, but I do want the kids. And then I can see y'all sharing that. Hey, John Bentley. Hey, thank you for coming in, buddy. John Bentley. And he says, hey, wonderful insight on how blended family, parenting, communication, collab to have a healthy family.
Thank you,
So,
John.
John's a good one. Thank you, John, for coming in. So, yeah, I could see this. Get your book out and give some insights, and build that first, and push the book, and then prepare for. And then I only take 20% of your revenue, and from there. So
Well, of course. Yeah.
that's right. So all right, Stephanie, you have been a peach, a joy, man. I just
you.
yesterday, someone was doing the old thing that says, "Hey, when life throws you lemons, what do you do?"
Throw
Come
it
on,
back and
Steph.
say throw it back and say what else you got.
Oh, there you go. I didn't say that, but I did say throw them out, throw the lemons out, because she was going, life throws you lemons, make lemonade. And I said, no. I'm like you, Steph. When life throws you lemons, throw it away and get you a strawberry pie.
So, hey, all right. I'm on board with that. Right.
So, I mean, I can handle a nice lemon meringue, but I'd rather have a strawberry. So, all right. Well, Steph, man, you just been, and of course, let's get into this basically real quickly, that you talk about growing up with structure, military type thing. And is that how growing up you've been so positive and see the better end of whatever comes your way, looking for that shining light at the end of the tunnel? What's the silver lining in the clouds or whatnot? How do you think you became that way?
Yeah, I think it is a combination of, definitely upbringing. Growing up in a military house, my dad, served, for 20 years, and my mom served, my stepdad served. Like, we were a strong military family, no matter what house I was in. And it just teaches you, so many different things about respect and responsibility, right? And playing a part in a bigger picture. So being able to see things, from the 30,000 foot view, and not see it just in, this is what's affecting me right now, but what do I affect, and what do they affect, and what decision am I going to make right now that's going to affect somebody that I don't even know, right? A day from now, a year from now, because of a decision that I make today. So, that's how way I look at it with my children. It's the way I look at it in our, my company, right? Not making a decision in the moment, but making a decision that lasts. So you take that to your personal life, your business life. And that's been important for me.
Try to look at the grand scheme of everything, not just the little picture in front of you.
Right. It's easy to be reactive, right? It's hard.
Exactly.
Right? It's easy to be reactive, and it's hard to think it through.
First response is to be reactive, defensive, and when we need to sit back, the old thing, take 10 seconds and a deep breath, and then come up. Yeah, it's very
yes.
so from there.
Yeah. Absolutely. If when my divorce, when that night happened, when I found out about all the stuff, and I talked to both my parents, and separately, dad and mom divorced, right? I talked to my dad, and he was a plan, right? Okay, here are the things that you need to do. Go to your bank, take out half of the savings, right? Put it in a separate account. Make a plan for this, make a list of this. He had here are the things that you need to accomplish, right? And I knew that I could count on him for that. Right. And then I knew that I could live in my emotions when I talked to my mom, right? Who was throw all this stuff outside and set it on fire, right? Okay.
Big bonfire.
I have a plan, right? I know what I have to do, right? To move forward from here. And I can, I know where to get those answers from. And then I could still vicariously have the whole emotional breakdown of yeah, wouldn't that be great if I could do that? But I'm not going to, but it's fun to think about, right? For that moment. So you have to honor both reactions.
There you go. Awesome. So, hey, Steph, yeah, you've been a joy, man. I've told you before we got started, you got a great radio podcasting voice, and I have the face for radio and podcasting. And so we could be a great team together here. So, all right. Hey, tell people how they can get a hold of you if someone wants to find out, get some information about how they can tame the other half of their family life.
Sure. I mean, I always love to talk about these things with people. So you can find me on LinkedIn. So just search for my name, Steph Hermanson, and you can find me pretty easily. I am on there daily, so LinkedIn is a great place to find me. I also have accounts on, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm well connected in that social media space. You can find me, or you can go through my company's website, atomicrevenue.com, spelled exactly how it sounds. No funny letters or silent K's, right? atomicrevenue.com.
And for the ones on the podcast, on the replay or listening now, you can go to Steph. She said go ahead and Google her again. It's STEPH, Steph Hermanson, and it is like it sounds, HERMANSON, Hermanson. So,
Yep.
well, Steph, appreciate you being here and sharing your journey, sharing some insights on how to stay positive, and really love that both families and all the kids are just one huge, bigger and better than the Brady Bunch going from there. So, all right. Everyone else, hey, thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in with the replay or whatnot. If there's anything I can do to help, you can go to my website. It's professorofperseverance.com. Again, scroll down a little bit and you'll find a free mini course along with a free ebook that's titled Your Past Doesn't Have a Future, But You Do. Create your future today. Jay Wright, thank you for coming in today, buddy. Good morning to you as well. And Jay, I don't know about if you know about this, but today, a 25-year Steph, today, a 25-year John Bentley, a 25-year vision for me is being answered with God's prayer. 25 years in the making. I went to our parks department and I said, there needs to be something done more for people with disabilities to be able to play some type of sports here. Well, some ramps put in for them to at least come watch their siblings play, a grandparent to come watch their grandkids play. Something needs to be done here. And that's 25 years ago I made that statement and everything. And of course, over the years, continue making this statement. Today, we're opening up a $2 million project park that has a field made for wheelchairs, people using crutches, where a walker to be able to play baseball on. They have the all-inclusive where kids, disabled or not, can play together. And then there's a pedal park that was put in. $2 million project, having a grand opening at 1 o'clock at Triple Creek. Jay, if you can make it down the road from you, man, 1 o'clock Triple Creek. And from there, yes, thank you, Mayor Brown, for taking on this project. David Brown, the Parks Department, for doing this project. City Council, thank you again for approving everything, and everybody who have donated your money, your time, anything to help make this come. I mean, I'm just elated. So, Jay, if you get a chance, 1 o'clock, be at the Triple Creek. And thank you again, John Bentley. And thank you, John, for that embarkment. Yes, thank you for this. It's 25 years of perseverance going strong here. All right, for everyone else, do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your paralysis.
Thanks for listening to the Professor of Perseverance podcast for motivation, inspiration, and encouragement. For more information, go to Facebook at Professor of Perseverance. Visit the website at professorofperseverance.com and view the YouTube channel, Dr. James Purdue, Professor of Perseverance.